Hey y'all, thanks for joining us again on Tuesday here at the Two Fish Technology Shop. Robert Prothero is with me today, and we're going to talk about some acronyms in the past few events that we put out, the past few shows, I guess we call them, episodes. We've gotten some questions about acronyms. And coming from a background where I worked for a member of Congress, I can understand that acronyms get pretty confusing. So today we're just going to go through some, and we're going to start with HIPAA. We've been talking about HIPAA quite a bit. HIPAA stands for Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. What is it? It's a U.S. law passed in 1996 that protects sensitive patient health information from being disclosed without patient's consent or knowledge. This is the act that gives Congress the ability to put different laws and different regulations, and the agency really to put different regulations on businesses that might be tied close to HIPAA. Robert, you want to take the next one? We'll just kind of go back and forth here.
Okay. So the next one is PHI. PHI stands for Protected Health Information, and that is the information that's actually in a patient file, such as the name, your address, your social security number, your date of birth, the information that actually identifies who you are. And so within this, so basically the protection, so HIPAA is there to protect that information, is to make the entity, being a doctor or somebody who has patient information, to require them to be able to get permission to be able to transfer these files from, say, doctor to doctor, from doctor to patient, from doctor to billing department, that's outside. So I mean that's really what that is. But it's protected health information. That's the information, the medical information that identifies a patient.
All right. Next one is NIST. NIST. National Institute. Let's see if I can get my screen to change here. Although we're a technology company, sometimes we have a few issues getting everything to work right too. NIST stands for National Institute of Standards and Technology. It's a government agency that creates cybersecurity standards and guidelines that are used across industries, including healthcare. I've worked with NIST before when we were looking at new ways to measure volume based on in real time passing over a sensor. And in order to get this new tool, this new product into the marketplace, because it was dealing with weights and measures, NIST had to give it the okay. So it is legal, that it's giving all of correct information, not trying to cheat anybody.
It's kind of like guidelines.
It's kind of, that's who makes these guidelines. And why it matters is that NIST's cybersecurity framework is often referenced in HIPAA security rule guidance. They're collaborating together, creating the best rules that they can think of, even if it might be a little difficult for adoption. They don't try to make it that way, but trying to protect American businesses as best as possible. All right, what's next?
Number 4 is MFA, multi-factor authentication. This is the thing that everybody loves. You go to the website, you put in a username or an email, you put in a password, and no longer does it open up and take you to where you want to go. It basically requires another way to identify yourself. So either you have to pull up your phone and use an app and get a particular number. It sends you an email that gives you a number, and you authenticate that way. But it basically is, you have to provide more than one way to prove that it's you. And that's really the idea behind it. So it makes it a lot more secure. So somebody can get your username, can get your password, but they probably won't have access to your email, and so they still can't get in.
Do Two Fish, do y'all see quite a few clients who have adopted this multi-factor authentication as a just that other step? Is that something that y'all try to lead clients into doing at all times? Is there a reason not to do it?
There is, well, this year I believe there's going to be a requirement to do it, but yeah, I think the majority of our clients already do it. We've been pushing them in that direction, and so it's just a way to protect your information. It's to protect, I mean, it's this, just about everything that we're going through is basically about protection of patient data and patient information and what access that you have and everything else. And so multi-factor is just another way to just make it that much harder for a bad guy to get your stuff.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we'll try to move on. And this gets into a little bit penetration testing as a service, PTAS.
PTAAS.
What? How does Two Fish? How do you speak about your penetration testing? What do y'all use an acronym? Do y'all do you just pen testing? I think it's important for businesses to stay on track with how everybody speaks in the language. So, give our viewers an idea of how Two Fish speaks about it.
Well, when I think of penetration testing, we basically say penetration testing. That's a good guy hacking into your network and then showing you how we did it so you can repair those things. And so doing it before a bad guy does.
Right.
That's how I see it. But as a service changes it for me.
Okay.
And maybe I'm not the right person to ask about this, but as a service turns it into maybe instead of doing the pen testing yearly, maybe instead of multi-yearly, now it's a service that automatically does it more frequently, quarterly, monthly.
And that's what Two Fish is able to do.
They are able to do that. That's
being able to do it monthly,
right?
Staying on top of, are there security risks that have popped up? Has a backdoor been left open into the network?
Are there new rules and guidelines? Right. And so we keep track of all of those, and so our pen testing will also keep track of that. So next month you'll see something new pop up and you go, oh, I knew that was coming. I didn't know it was here yet. Then we can close that door.
Ethical hacking. Why it matters. The new HIPAA rule changes are pushing organizations to test their cybersecurity regularly, not just once a year. And that is one of the things that we see in the new HIPAA rulemaking process, is that I think twice a year it's going to be regulated now.
In 2025. I believe that's going to be the year. So that's going to happen here pretty soon. So it's going to require that. It's going to require vulnerability scanning also. So, I mean, anyway, but pen testing is big. That's a big thing, because you can actually see how a professional hacker could actually do it. And so then you get ahead of them.
And what I've come to learn is that's really your base level. If you can start out with the pen test, then you can build and reinforce those areas that may not be secure. Kind of starting with the pen test and then layering security on top of it. That's what I've learned in my time working here, and spending time with Two Fish Technology, and I think it's a real common sense way to go about things.
Me too.
All right, next.
All right, we're at number 6. Number 6 I'm calling BAA, Business Associate Agreement. So if you're the type of business that has to deal with patient records, then a BAA is actually an agreement between an entity that deals with patient records, whether that be a doctor, a dentist, an insurance company, whoever deals with those patient records, and another entity. Say I'm a doctor's office and I use a third-party billing. Mm-hmm. It's an agreement between myself and between that third party, mm-hmm. to be able to, so because they have to be HIPAA compliant too. So they have to protect my information the same way as I do. And so anyway, so there's an agreement between the two of us that basically, so I don't know how else to really put it.
It's kind of lines out the agreement between both parties that each one has a responsibility in
Amen.
this HIPAA
That's a good way to say it.
protection. And I think that's how I've heard you describe it before, and it just keeps all these parties working together for the strength of who matters, and that should be the client.
It should be
and the client's personal information.
That's right. Yep.
All right. Number 7. We're going through these a little faster than I thought. We'll have to I'll have to think of some more. Okay, the next one, endpoint detection and response, EDR. And you may hear us talk about EDR quite a bit here on these episodes because it is one of the quickest, in my view, the tool that's going to work the quickest to remove your computer from a network if the network is infected or if that computer gets infected. Is that?
Can I use a quick example?
Absolutely.
So say your network has 10 computers, and say that one of those computers, or maybe multiples, they get an email that they really shouldn't click on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you click on a link and it causes a problem, it releases a virus, it releases a ransomware or something. One of those computers, click on that button to release that. Endpoint detection and response actually segregates or takes that computer away from the network so it won't infect the rest of the computers. That's a very, very that really is a nice product. So
that's I think so too. I think it's a really great way to make sure that you can segment off things that may be infected or you're not sure about.
Because before you would click on one and it would crawl into the rest of your network. But we actually have tools that now quarantine it to that computer, and then we allow backdoor access to that computer. So we for our customers can actually log in and fix that product so we can put your computer back online or back in the network. So that's exactly how it works.
Excellent.
That's pretty neat.
Here, why it matters. Cyber criminals often start by targeting a single device, just like you were saying. Target a single device and it crawls through the network. EDR helps detect that early, contain the threat, and can stop a ransomware attack before it spreads. HIPAA doesn't say you must use EDR, but modern cyber insurance does. That will be dependent upon your policy at all times. If you have a cyber insurance policy, always check it, because that's going to give you every detail about what you need. And if EDR is one of them, that's conveniently packed into the protection that Two Fish Technology provides.
Well, since we have time, there's a real world example here locally.
Let's talk about it.
And basically, without disclosing names or anything, there's an entity in town, has about 150 computers, approximately 13 to 14 locations. And they actually had this EDR product, endpoint detection and response, on 5 of their 50 computers.
Mm-hmm.
The entire entity got ransomed for a lot of money. It was above $1 million,
Wow.
which kind of threw them off a little bit. But they had endpoint detection on 5 of their computers. The great thing is the 5 that they had it on did a lot of the bookkeeping and a lot of the payroll.
It's almost
and
able
so
to quarantine those away.
And so it did. It completely did not ransom those computers, but it ransomed every other one. But it could not get in. So not only does endpoint detection keep things from getting off of your computer onto the network, it keeps the things on the network from getting on your computer. There's actually a two-way, and now they think that EDR is pretty cheap, so they wish that they would have done that.
That's what I would. It's when you hear about companies that have had a ransomware attack or been hacked. It's one thing to think, oh well, yeah, that's a lot of money, and I hope they get through it. But most small businesses don't.
Right.
So to your point, EDR becomes a really cheap and, in some ways necessary, because if you don't have that on your network when your policy explicitly says that you need it, now you may be out of the ability to reach out and use that policy in a claim against the covered laws.
You're exactly right.
All right.
All right. So EDR. Number 8, SIEM. SIEM, Security Information and Event Management. So I'm just going to read it here. It's a system that collects and analyzes logs and alerts from across your network, looking for signs of hacking, malware, or unauthorized access. So basically, SIEM is basically a monitoring tool that monitors all the logs that come out of your computer, out of your network, for abnormalities, for things that might make you curious, for why something is open, stuff like that.
Is this similar to, say, a manned secure operations center, or a SOC, or
no, the actual
which we'll get to in a
SOC,
second.
which is actually number 9, but the actual SOC is the man. They use SIEM to do what they do.
Okay.
And so basically it's a product that actually is able to continually look at logs within your entity to see weird things, and to be able to to check. And so SIEM, it says why it matters. It says SIEM helps organizations detect breaches faster. Under the new HIPAA changes, entities are expected to not only protect data, but also monitor for when it's being misused or attacked. So basically, I mean, that kind of speaks for itself. So there are logs that are being made within your network, and it's basically keeping those logs and being able to find abnormalities.
I kind of like the analogy.
Oh yeah, say it.
It's like having a security camera and motion sensors throughout your digital house. You're
Yep.
always monitoring, and all of those are reporting back to one place.
There you go.
All right, number
Nice.
9.
Number 9.
Security Operations Center, the SOC. And we know Twofish uses a manned Security Operations Center.
That's right.
Where much of the operations and procedures that you're using are AI based, but there's an actual manned Security Operations Center. Security Operations Center is a term that watches your system 24/7, looking for threats and responding to incidents, often using those tools like EDR and SIEM, SIEM.
There you go. That's what they do.
Why it matters: HIPAA requires SOC by name. It doesn't. I'm sorry. HIPAA does not require a SOC by name, but it does require covered entities to monitor systems and respond to threats, which would be the purpose of having SOC.
Yep, and most SOCs today are 24/7.
So
something happens at midnight on Sunday night,
the threats don't sleep.
they don't, and so they have the ability to report, to log in, to start the fix.
We've talked time and time again about how many of these threats come from overseas, whether it's China or another country that might be harboring these bad actors. They're working on a different timetable
They
than us. They're trying to build things that never stop trying to probe and get into systems, and that's why something working 24/7, it's a must.
Well, if you're a SOC that works Monday through Friday 8 to 5, and Friday at 5 o'clock,
We saw you clock out.
there's a problem. And, they basically have the entire weekend to play.
Yep.
So, you don't find out until Monday morning that you're having a problem, and then all of a sudden, what happens if you can't get to work?
And Josh has told us, how long these events can take place. And if you're on a 72-hour clock to begin reporting, that 72-hour clock could be almost over by the time you get back to work.
Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
All right.
That'd be Monday at 5. You're right. To actual, in fact, the report of 72 hours. But is it the report or the recovery? Do you remember?
I would have to look.
I would have to look too, but I think it could be the recovery.
Even here on the Two Fish Live show, we don't always have all the answers, but we will work to get them.
That's interesting. All right.
That's it.
All right.
We love questions. So if you have some, if you're watching, drop it in the comments, and we will do our best to look those up. All right, number 10.
Number 10 is one that I do not know.
It was a new one for me as well.
Yeah, and it's DOH. And
what's that?
There
what
is
DOH
actually,
stand for?
Yeah, there's actually kind of a joke in here that called it a denial of HIPAA. And you know that we have a lot of customers that are doing that. But anyway, but it actually means DNS over HTTPS. And I thought that was so funny because we're using acronyms to explain an acronym. Anyway, so
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah,
So
that is really quite funny. And so, but DNS is a domain name server. I know that. HTTPS is actually the security on your browser, and it stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure. I don't know if that helped or just confused the whole thing.
There's a secure part, and there's HTTPS for the secure, and HTTP, which would be unsecure.
That's right.
And I think when you would go to visit a website and might pop up a screen saying this is an unsecure site, do you still want to continue? It can happen in those environments. That's kind of the difference.
That's right. And so DNS over, so basically it says what it is: a method of encrypting DNS traffic. The kind of traffic that tells your computer how to find websites. DOH hides your activity from eavesdroppers like hackers and even public Wi-Fi snoopers.
So if you have your own website with a portal going to it for clients, customers, you're going to want to make sure that you have a secure site for everyone to log into.
There you go.
That's kind of the way I'm reading it.
And that's it. And so, obviously we're kind of pushing towards the HIPAA, which is more of the healthcare type thing and patient information. And I mean, all that stuff becomes very, very important.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay. Personal identifiable information, PII. That's what's being dealt in. That's what, they're trying to secure for the client's benefit. And, we have to mandate it. Regulations are always changing to keep up with new technology. And Two Fish Technology is here to help you get through those weeds and get the right tools to secure your network, secure your household. Robert, thanks for taking the time to go through this with me.
Yep.
If anybody out there watching, subscribe, like, leave us a comment. We'd love to interact with you, and that's exactly right. What we're trying to do here. So, anything else?
Nope, that's it. I mean, look, we'll answer any questions that anybody has. We don't charge to answer the phone and talk to people. So, I mean, call. We would love to have the chat. We can have a sit down with you. We have some talented people in our office that can actually help.
Absolutely. Yeah. How can people get in touch with you?
You can actually get in touch with me. My email is robert@twofishtechnology.com. Anytime you can call. My direct line is 806-310-9311. I don't ever call myself, so I don't.
He's got a pause. Make sure he gives out the right number.
I didn't want to give out the wrong number. That'd be bad. But it's 806-310-9311 is actually my direct line. But I'd be more than happy to talk to anybody that wants to talk.
Absolutely. Well, hey. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and even though we were going over acronyms and stuff like this, I actually learned quite a bit.
I did too, and I learned so much with all of these, and we hope that our viewers do too. Thanks again. I want to thank Dave for being here to help us set everything up, and he's running the.
Yep, thank you, Dave.
We all pitch in to work here in the shop, so
that's right.
Thank you all, and come back and see us again next week at 12:30.